Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to go over your review sheet for test number 2. The first question is a parabola question, so I'm going to make a picture. That's what you should do to help you. So I'm going to make an XY axis. They tell me there's a focus at 1, 2. So that means 1, 2, there's a focus. So that's a point. Remember, your focus is a point. Then the directrix is at y equals -2. Whenever it's y equals, remember it's a horizontal line. And I'll label this D for directrix. Now, we want to find the equation of a parabola, but what we need to do first is find the vertex. The vertex is halfway between the focus and the directrix. These are 4 boxes apart. That means that there are 2, like the vertex is between the 2 mark for both. So I'm going to put a point here and label that V for my vertex. My parabola always gives my focus a big hug, so I'm opening upward. So there's a few things I want to pull from this picture. My vertex value, which is 1, 0, and my A value, which is 2. The A value, remember, is your distance between your focus and vertex or your vertex and directrix. They are the same distance because they're halfway, the vertex is halfway in between them. Then I want my equation. So remember, the equation for a parabola is x minus h squared equals plus or minus 4a y minus k. Okay, so our h and our k is the vertex, and the a is there. We're going to choose the positive version because it is a parabola that's opening upward. So I want to plug in x minus 1 squared equals 4, a is 2, and then y minus 0. That's going to get you x minus 1 squared, 4 times 2 is 8, and then y, because y minus 0 is y. Now, if you notice, inside the choices, they have all of the choices equal to y. So that means I should solve for y here. To do that, I will simply just divide by 8 on either side, canceling this out, and I will get y equals x minus 1 squared all over 8. Now, we don't have that as an example, but I know this is wrong because it's plus 1. I know this one's wrong, it's plus 2. But I'm left with 3 and 4. And I'm going to choose choice 4 because technically there is a 1/8 here. You can kind of see it that way, and it pulls to the front where they have it right here. The next question says the 2 largest predictors of heart disease are an unhealthy lifestyle and a genetic predisposition. 58% of people have an unhealthy lifestyle, and 24% have a genetic predisposition, and 10% have both. What percent of people have an unhealthy lifestyle or a genetic predisposition? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the OR formula for this. So I'm going to do the probability of unhealthy lifestyle. I'll do UH, or, remember U means or, and G for genetic predisposition. So it's going to be the probability of UH plus the probability of G, and we're going to subtract the overlap of both because that's in the formula for OR. So UH and G. Okay, so the probability of unhealthy lifestyle is 0.58. You always want to change your percents into decimals. The probability of a genetic predisposition is 0.24, and the probability of both is 0.10. Plugging that into your calculator, you'll get a decimal of 0.72. They want a percent, so we're just going to change that back to a percent, so 72%. Okay, so the next question has a survey was taken of students' genders and their preference for basketball, soccer, or track. 5 girls preferred track, 4 preferred track, 4 boys preferred track, 6 boys preferred basketball, and 15 girls preferred soccer. The 25 students preferred soccer, and a total of 50 students participated in the survey. Complete the two-way frequency table comparing the gender of the students and their preferences to soccer or track, basketball, soccer, or track. So first off, they say there are 50 students, so I'm going to put 50 in this last box here, which will tell me that 30 goes here by just subtracting. There should be 10 people here because 16 minus 6. And then I can do some more subtraction and adding, and I'll end up getting 5 here. And I'll keep doing that until the whole entire table is filled. So, let's see. I think there's one other thing that I need to pull out from the question because I don't have anything I can subtract right now. But I do know that 4 boys preferred track. So I'm going to put 4 here. And that's the missing piece that we needed because that'll be 9 here now. And then I can add 16, 9, and 50. I'll add 16 and 9, subtract that from 50, which will get me 25. and then I need 10 here. Okay. So the first question they ask is, what's the probability that a student preferred basketball given that they're a girl? When you see the word given, that means that that is a condition. It's a conditional probability, which means that we are only going to choose from the females. So I'm going to highlight the female row because the condition is being female. And I want the females that preferred basketball. So that would be 10 out of 30. You can reduce that to 1/3 if you'd like, and that's your answer. The next question says, are being female and preferring soccer independent? So to do independence, you can use the formulas, but the easiest way to do it is to look at the two things we're working with. So we're looking at soccer and we're looking at female. So we want to make sure we choose proportions or fractions from these two sections. So I want to know if these are independent events. So you can do 15 over 30 because that's in the female and soccer situation, and then you would match it up with either 25 over 50 or 10 over 20. Now when I divide 15 by 30, I get 0.2, and that gets me 0.2 as well, so therefore they are independent. Now there's several different proportions you could do. You could also, if you wanted to do 15 over 25 and do it like, let me do it in red, this way, 15 over 25, then 30 over 50. You will also get the same decimals, so that'd be 0.6 equals 0.6. So there's several different ways to do it as long as you're matching up the proper lining. So the green one, remember we did horizontally, and we found that they were in proportion, and then the red one we did vertically, this over this, and this over this. Okay. Okay, next question. It says, a cardboard box manufacturing company is building lengths with x plus 1 and a width by 5 minus x. And the volume of the box is modeled by the function below. They want you to find the fastest average rate. So this is just slope. Remember, slope is y minus y over x minus x. So you're going to find the slope for all of these values, okay? So for the first choice, I'm going to do, remember, these are x values when they have them in those brackets. So it's going to be 1 minus 2 on the bottom. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the graph and find the value for 1 of y, that's 0. And then I will find the value for 2, which is halfway between 8 and 10. This is going by 2, so that's 9. And that'll get me a value of 9. Now for choice 2, I'll keep going, and I'm going to keep doing this until I'm done with all my average rate of changes. So 1 minus 3.5. Again, I'll go to 1. I see that that y value is 0. 3.5, so this is 3.5 all the way up here. That's halfway between 16 and 18, so that should be 17. And that'll get me a value of 6.8. Okay, and we're going to do choice 3 over here, so because I'm running out of room. 1 minus 5. I'll find the y value for 1. That's at 0. And then 5 is also at 0. So that gets me 0. Okay, so the last one I'm going to do 0 minus 3.5. And 0 is down here, and that is at negative 5. Minus 3.5, again, that's the same value, so it's 17. And that gets me a value of 6.2857. And they want the fastest average rate, so that means we're going to choose choice 1 because that had the 9, which was the biggest. All right, so the next question says, write the equation that will reflect the parent function over the y-axis. When you reflect over y, you want to negate x. So I'm going to do y equals 3 to the negative x. And this is a fine equation, but we don't really like negative exponents, so what we do is remember that you flip the base. So this is your base, the 3. So I'm going to make it 1/3 to the x, and that's the proper way to write this answer. Next question says, the study was designed to test the effectiveness of a new drug. Half the volunteers received the drug, and the other half received a sugar pill. That means we have 50%, so 0.5. The probability of receiving a drug and getting well was 0.4. What's the probability of a volunteer getting well given that they received the drug? So we have a given probability, which is a conditional probability, which means that we need our conditional probability formula, which is probability of wellness and drug over the probability of a drug. Remember that whatever is here is what's on the bottom, whatever letter. So do they tell us the probability of getting well and having the drug? They do. The probability of a volunteer receiving the drug and getting well is 40. So I'm going to put 40% up here. And then the probability of just getting the drug, well, we know that half of the volunteers received the drug and the other half received a sugar pill. So that's 0.5. And when I divide those two things, I will get a value of 0.8. Next question asks you to determine are the students is male and the students preferring reality TV shows independent. Justify. The way you justify is just showing your probabilities. Okay, so since I'm dealing with male and I'm dealing with reality series, I want to make sure I'm taking from those sections. So I'm going to do 70 over 230. And I could do like 110 over 260 if I want, but I usually like to just do the total. That's what I like to prefer. So 180 out of 490. So I'm going to divide those to get my decimals. You have to do that to see if they're exact. And what happened with this problem is I found out that these were not exact, so therefore these events are dependent, not independent, you could also say. Okay, so last page. A runner is using a 9-week training program for a fun run. The table below represents the amount of program completed A and the distance covered in miles D. Based on this data, write an exponential regression equation. So that's what we're doing. That's our goal. Again, it's an equation, so make sure you have y equals. Rounded to the nearest thousandth, that's important, to model the distance the runner is able to complete in a session as she continues through the 9-week program. So we want an exponential equation, so AB to the x. The way you're going to get this is you're going to put this data into L1 and L2. So you're going to press stat on your calculator, and you're going to press edit, and you're going to enter the data into L1 and L2. Then you're going to press stat and calc, and you're going to choose exponential reg. And you're going to round those decimals to nearest thousandth. So you're going to end up getting an equation y equals, if you don't put y equals, I will take off because it is an equation, so please be careful of that. So I ended up getting 1.223, 2.652 to the x. Now when you guys are doing this on the Google form, if you're doing it on the Google form for the test, you're not going to be able to write an exponent, so let me just show you how you're going to write that. You're going to write it like y equals 1.223, 2.652, and then caret x. This little caret symbol, it's like a without the line through it. This means exponent right here, okay? Okay. The graphs of the equations are drawn on the same set of axes. One solution of the system is. So the test is going to ask you to do this algebraically, so I'm going to show you how to do it algebraically. So I'm going to first solve this for y by subtracting the 3 over. So I get x minus 3. Then I'm going to put that in for y up there. So then I'll set these equations equal to each other. Okay, I'm going to subtract x because we remember that x squared likes to equal 0 and add 3. And I end up getting 0 equals x squared plus 2x plus 4. No, plus 3x, my bad. And I just realized I copied the equation down wrong, so don't do that. This should be a minus 1. That was very silly of me. I was looking at it, I was like, this is not like the right answer. Okay, so negative 1 plus 3, that's going to get you 2, which makes more sense, because I was thinking that 4 was not going to give me 3 when I factored it. All right, so we are in the clear now, so we're going to make this x plus 1, x plus 2, which is using the AM method, finding factors of 2 that add to 3. That'll get me two x values of negative 1 and negative 2. And the last thing I need to do is find my y values. And I do that by plugging in to one of the equations. And it's the easiest one to plug into would be right here. So if I plug in -1 here, I'd have -1 minus 3, which gets you -4. And then if I plugged in -2, I'd have -2 minus 3, which gets you -5. Cool. All right. Okay, so the next question says the school wants to talk to the students to discuss a proposed cell phone policy. The students in the school are numbered from 1 to 750. Use the list of random digits to identify a sample of 10 students for the school to talk to. Now, here's the deal. The highest number is 3 digits. That means you're going to count by 3s in the table. If the highest digit was 2 digits, you'd count by 2s. If the highest digit was 1 digit, you'd count by 1s. So since this is a 750 as my highest digit, we will count by 3s. So 619 would be my first one. I'm just going to zoom this in so I can show you what I'm doing. I'm highlighting all the numbers. 619 would be 1. Okay, 543, 891, 684, and so on. Okay, so as you can see, I highlighted all my numbers. Now I'm going to collect 10 3-digit numbers to represent students. So it's kind of like having an ID number at school. Each number would represent a student. So I want to make sure the numbers are not above 750 and no repeats. So the first number I'm going to pick is 619. This number is not above 750. Then 543. 891 I'm going to ignore. That's above 750, so we don't want that. 684. 532, 176, 601, 233, 022, 684, 135. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I think I'm good, but I want to analyze my digits and make sure I have no repeats. And I actually do have a repeat, 684. So that means I'm just going to take the next one, which will be 332. And these are the students I'm going to ask questions to. Okay, and then the last question says, explain how you obtain these 10 students. So you would simply say that you went by 3s, like you counted by 3s, or however you want to do that. You counted by 3 digits because 750 is the max number in this problem. Then you have to say that you ignored repeats, because you don't want to repeat a student. You want to ask the same student twice. Repeats and numbers above 750, which are out of range. Okay, so I hope this video helped prep you for your test. I'm sorry if you heard any background noise. Sunny is, just being our puppy. We love him to death, and we miss you all. So anyways, good luck, and as always, message me with any questions.